right, guys. My name is, for those that don't know me, my name is Ben. I'm a physical therapist with Pro+Kinetix Physical Therapy and Performance. We work out at Truve, and today we are going to be going over a mobility routine that you guys can utilize not only today, but also throughout the rest of the duration of this quarantine to make sure you guys stay mobile and stay active. So when you guys can able to transition back into the gym, decrease your risk for injury as well. So this mobility routine that we're going to be doing today was structured by both me, Dr. Colin, and Dr. Mike, the other physical therapists with Pro+Kinetix Physical Therapy and Performance. And it's geared towards fixing limitations and loosening up the joints and muscles that tend to get tight when we're immobile and not moving quite as much as we normally would be since we're spending more time at home. So first muscle that tends to get tight is the hip flexor. So the hip flexor is a muscle that attaches from the front of the hip down to here, all right? And so when we're in a seated position, that muscle is in a shortened position. And so that muscle will get really, really tight. And that can lead to changing the orientation of the pelvis, which can also influence our low back and cause low back pain as well. So we're gonna start working on that muscle to start out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our right knee down. We're going to squeeze our right glute, contract our core, and then from there, we are going to shift our hips forward. All right. We should feel a pretty good stretch right in the front of the hip. Some of you may feel it a little bit lower, kind of down into the quadricep muscle. That's okay. It just tells me that your quad needs a little bit more than your hip flexor, actually. All right. So you guys can see that I'm using kind of like a blue pad here. You guys can use like a pillow or something if it's irritating your knee. Main thing is you just don't want to irritate that kneecap. So if you're having some knee pain, that's something that you can utilize. And so we want to make sure that we're holding this for ideally about 30 seconds, all right? That's for all stretches, not just this stretch. That's just what the research shows is being most beneficial. They did research where they did 10-second holds, 20-second holds, 30-second holds, a minute, 5 minutes, and 10 minutes, and measured the elasticity of the muscle after doing those stretches. And they found that 30 seconds is optimal, and ideally doing 3 sets. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch over and do the same thing on the left side. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna squeeze. We got our left knee down. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna squeeze our left glute, pull down the rib cage, and then shift our hips forward. Again, we should be feeling that coming in the front here. All right. And you can use, if you got a foam roller at home, you can use it to, like, if some of you guys are having a hard time balancing or something like that, you can go ahead and use this to stabilize with things. All right, so we're gonna hold this for about 30 seconds. And ideally, you wanna be doing 3 sets of this. Just for time purposes today, I wanna give you guys as much variety as possible. We're just gonna go through 1 set of all these exercises. So you guys get a feel for it and make sure you feel comfortable doing it. And then if you guys want a copy of this routine, so you don't have to like watch it all over again, just comment below in the comment section that you want the mobility routine, and what I can do is I can send it to your email, so that way you can follow along that way instead of having to rewatch. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go after a different part of the hip. So we're going to go down into kind of a figure 4 position. All right, so we got 90-degree angle here, 90-degree angle here, and then also 90-degree angle here. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and take our chest and lean forward in the direction where our sternum, okay, the center of the chest, is going to go directly over that knee. And we should feel a pretty good stretch in that glute. Okay. So what we don't want is we don't want a whole bunch of like rounding. You guys can see here, we don't want a whole bunch of rounding at the back. All right. Just like if you're doing a deadlift or trying to pick something off the ground, we want to keep that low back straight in alignment, and then we're just hinging at the hips, just like if we were doing a deadlift. Okay. Don't want to be rounding. So I'm gonna hold this for about 30 seconds. So you can hold this for 30 seconds, or one way to do it too is to focus on your breathing. All right? One way to relax more effectively is focusing on your deep breathing. And so we can do 6 deep breaths, and this usually equates to about 30 seconds. If we're able to get the entire body to relax, And that means that muscles that we're trying to stretch is relaxing as well, leading to a more effective stretch. Okay. And then let's go ahead and switch to the other side. And if you guys are having any pain with this, comment afterwards and let me know, because there's probably an underlying issue. Because you should not be having pain with any of this. Okay, it should just be a nice gentle stretch. Okay, same thing this side, 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here, 90 degrees in the back, and then we're just hinging forward. You should feel a stretch in that right glute. And then if you guys have any questions while we're going through this, what I can do is I can pull this up here so I can see the comments. Let's see. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Yeah. So I can see comments right now. So if you guys have any questions on anything, just shoot them through. All right. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go after the mid back. All right. So when we're sitting for long periods of time, especially if we're sitting with bad posture, all right, our thoracic spine, our mid back is usually rounded forward like this. All right. So it gets really, really tight. We're not supposed to be in this position. We're supposed to be here. Okay. And so that thoracic spine can get pretty darn tight. So I got a question here. Should you try to lean as forward as possible during the figure 4 stretch? Yes, as long as as long as you're feeling a good stretch there, that's what's most important. All right. Some of you guys may, if you're super hyper flexible, you may not feel an intense stretch with this. All right. You might just need something that's a little more aggressive. And let me know if you're not feeling that stretch. All right. So, like I said, we're going to go after the thoracic spine. So I'm going to assume that you guys all have foam rollers. And if you don't, I'm going to show you a modification that you can make. But we're going to start out with the foam roller here. So what you're going to do is you're going to position that foam roller underneath or kind of by the mid back, right below the shoulder blade. And what you're going to do is you're going to keep your hips on the floor and then also your feet flat on the mat. And then what you're going to do is you're going to extend and fold over the top of the foam roller. And hold for about 2 to 3 seconds and then come back up. Make sure you're breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, and breathing in. Let's do about 2 more at this position. Okay, another thing that I see a lot of people compensate for is they actually get too much mobility or too much motion at the low back and the ribs start flaring out. And all we're actually doing at that point is mobilizing that low back. Okay, and that's not the portion that we're trying to go after. We're trying to go after the mid back. So keep that core engaged and the ribs pulled down, right? And extending over. Okay. The next thing you can do is move down a tad bit, okay, because that thoracic spine is usually about six inches, all right? Depends on how tall somebody is. But what we want to do is we want to try and get the entirety of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to scoot down just a tad bit and go after a different part of that thoracic spine. And do 5 there. And make sure you're breathing out and you're folding over the top. Okay, good rule of thumb. People like, how low do I know how to go and how high should I go? So the main thing is use your shoulder blades as kind of a landmark. You shouldn't be going much lower than your shoulder blades, and you shouldn't be going any higher than the top of the shoulder blade. If you do, you're not going to hurt yourself or anything like that. It's just we're no longer mobilizing the portion of the spine that we're trying to get after. All right, let's move up 1 more segment. So we're at the top of the shoulder blades and folding over the top there. So this should really, really feel good. This is something that I do every day, especially if I've been sitting for a longer period of time doing notes or something like that. This is my go-to. And this is something you guys can do if you don't have a foam roller at home. You can also sit in a chair, or if you're sitting at your desk. And what you can do is you can put your hands behind your head, or you can put them across your chest, and pretend I have like a backrest here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over the top of that, and just do oscillations there. Foam roller is a little bit more effective, but it still works the same. Okay. So now let's go ahead and we're going to go after the thoracic spine again, but this time we're going to go after rotation. Okay, the thoracic spine moves in flexion and extension. Okay, extension is folding over the foam roller just like what we just did, and then it also rotates. All right, and it can get stiff there. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay on our left side to start. All right, and you can use the foam roller to rest your head on if that's more comfortable. And what you're going to do is put your hand on the floor, knees down, knees bent a little bit, and then we are opening up. I'm trying to get that opposite hand to the floor. Making sure to keep our knees down. Okay, we don't want to, as we rotate, we don't want to let these knees come up like this. Otherwise, it's not going to be as effective. All right. So we're going to do a couple oscillations here, holding for about 2 to 3 seconds at the bottom. Some of you may feel this in the low back, and that's okay. Just again, tells me that the lower back needs it a little bit more actually than the upper body, and that's okay. And ideally doing about 10 of these, and then making sure that your head is following your moving arm. Okay, we don't want to be like keeping your head still this side, then we're not going to be able to go as far, and it kind of pulls on our neck a little bit. So we want to make sure our head is following that arm. Let's do 2 more. And this is helping to also kind of stretch out the pecs or the muscles in the front of the chest. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lay on our right side and do the exact same thing. So we start with on our right side. Oops, a little bit headphone here. Okay, now what we're doing is the exact same thing, just the opposite direction. And you guys may feel a little bit difference from side to side. Like on this side, I'm a little bit more tight, and that's okay to have a little bit of asymmetries. We just don't want a huge discrepancy there. Again, making sure to keep those knees down. And some of you guys may feel like cracks or pops in your spine, in your low back or mid back with these, or the one where we just did with the foam roller, and that's okay. As long as there's no pain, you're all right. It's actually good. It just tells me that we're effectively mobilizing those spinal segments. Let's do 2 more. Good. All right. So now we're going to work our way up into mobilizing and stretching the lats. All right. So the lats, or the latissimus dorsi, is a muscle that attaches kind of at the underneath the armpit and then spans down and attaches down kind of towards the pelvis. And this can alter, if the lats are tight, it can alter shoulder biomechanics, especially with like overhead movements. A lot of people that come in having shoulder pain, it's because they actually have really tight lats, and it's just changing the mechanics, and it can lead to shoulder impingement. So what we're going to do to stretch that muscle is we're going to get into all 4 position. Right? And what we're going to do is we're going to take our left arm and reach across like this. And then from there, we are going to sink our hips down. Okay, and kind of do the hip hinge, just like we did with some of those other exercises. Okay? You should feel a nice stretch throughout the side of your body. You may also feel this again in the low back as well if it's tight. And this one's a really good one to be focusing on your breathing. Because as that rib cage expands and collapses, it's going to increase that stretch of that lat. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the same thing other side. So back into the all four position, and we're taking our hand and reaching across, then sinking our hips down. Again, you should feel that stretch. The side of the arm, side of the body. Good. All right, so we're gonna give the upper body a little bit of a break, and we're gonna move back down to the legs. So one muscle that tends to get pretty darn tight is a muscle called the adductor. And so the adductor is the muscle on the inside of the leg. So again, you guys can use, see if you guys got any questions. No, okay. So again, you guys can use like a pillow or something soft underneath your knee to take off the pressure. All right. So left knee is going to be down, right leg's going to be out. Okay. And from there, we want to make sure that foot is pointing straight ahead. We don't want that. We don't want that kicked out or pointed out like this. Okay. We want that to be pointed straight ahead. And then from there, again, we're doing the hip hinge, all right, where we're pushing our hips back and sinking those back. And we should feel pretty intense stretch right on the inner side or inner leg there. And this muscle, if it's tight, can lead to some knee pain as well. You can also support yourself here with your hand down if you're getting tired, okay, from having to hold yourself up. That's okay. It's not going to change the stretch. Yeah, and I see a question about the foam roller. Where should the foam roller be versus our shoulder blades? Again, it's just we want to keep that at the very bottom of the shoulder blade, okay, about right here, to the top of our shoulder blade. Use those landmarks. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to switch and do the same thing on the other leg. Okay, so we got our right knee down, left leg out straight, making sure to keep that foot pointing straight ahead. And then from there, we're hinging down, and hinging back. You can use the foam roller too for stability. I like using the foam roller for a lot of different stretches because it helps the body just relax, because you're not worried about having to like try and balance. So we're trying to balance, our muscles are activated to help provide that stability. So if we can use our arms to provide that stability, it's going to make that stretch much more effective. About 5 more seconds. Good. And relax. All right. So now we're going to do, so that was the adductor longest. Okay, we've got 2 adductor muscles on the inside of our leg. So we're going to go after the other one. So I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around so you guys can see. All right. What you're going to do is, instead of elongating or straightening out that leg, what we're going to do is we're going to keep both knees bent and kind of put some distance between those knees. Okay, and then making sure to support yourself with your 2 hands. And what you're going to do is you're just going to sink and kind of sit back and shift your weight towards your heels. This stretch is going to be felt kind of closer into the groin area. It won't be quite so low as the last stretch we did. This one can be kind of hard to relax into. Can be a little bit more uncomfortable than the other ones, so make sure you're focusing on your breathing to help you relax with that. You can also kind of rock back and forth into this as well, where we're shifting our hips forward and then shifting our hips back and shifting forward and shifting back. So that sustained stretch might just be a little bit too intense for some of you, and that's okay. Just elect to do the rocking motion instead. Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back and work our way up to the upper body, and we're gonna go after our pec muscles. So the pec muscles attach at the sternum area and then work their way over to the shoulder. And so if we're in a bad sitting position, sitting with bad posture, those muscles get really tight. So if we're sitting with bad posture and rounded out like this, my shoulders are rounded forward too, all right? And so that muscle gets really, really tight. Okay? And can alter the shoulder mechanics just like a tight lat can. So what we wanna do is we wanna open that up. So you guys can do this with or without a foam roller. The foam roller is gonna make it a little bit more intense. Okay? So what you're gonna do is instead of having it horizontal, like we did on the thoracic mobilization, we are going to have that, we're gonna place that vertically. Okay? So you're gonna lay on that like so, okay, making sure that your tailbone is supported and the head is supported. We want the entire spine supported. Okay? It's gonna help you relax. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna widen out your feet so you're not rolling all over the place and you can actually relax. And then from there, we are starting with our hands directly above our sternum, straight up, and then we're going into an I position. Okay, bringing our arms down and coming back up. We're gonna do about 10 repetitions here. This one won't be quite as intense as the ones that we're about to do or work our way into. As we start working our way towards overhead position, that's where we're gonna start seeing some more limitations. And you guys are gonna feel a bit more of an intense stretch, but this will help ease your way into it. Okay, making sure to keep, we don't want like the low back to be rounding too much, right? We don't want a whole lot of space here. We want to make sure we keep our back down and our core engaged with this too. Okay, now start working our way up more into a T position. Okay, the starting position is always right above our sternum. Now we're coming up into that T position. One thing that can help make this a little bit more intense too is kind of lifting your body up and squeezing the shoulder blades, okay, and getting those in position, and then bringing the arms out. Should feel a nice stretch in the front part of the torso there, right in the chest area. You're holding at about, again, 2 to 3 seconds at the bottom, and coming back up. Let's do about 4 more, and then we're gonna work our way up more into the Y position. Last one. All right, now we're gonna go into the Y position. This is where most of you are gonna feel the most restrictions at, okay? Again, you might not be able to make it all the way down to the floor, and that's okay. Try and work your way as close as you can. Okay, you can also just, do this exercise flat on the floor without the foam roller. The foam roller just makes it a little bit more aggressive because now we have a little bit more room to work with and we can go down a little bit further than we otherwise would have been able to with just laying flat on the floor. Let's do about 3 more. Good. All right. Hardest part about this is getting on and off the foam roller. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna put that foam roller aside. Any questions on any of those so far? Are you guys doing right? Okay, good. All right, so one of the few that we're gonna finish up with here today, we are gonna go after the upper trap muscles, okay, and some muscles in the back of our head. So these muscles, upper trap, can get really tight, especially with that bad posture. So you can see a lot of this just goes back to posture. A lot of these stretches are gonna help you feel better, but you're gonna have to keep doing these to get the results that you want and get that mobility back. Fixing the underlying issue is usually strength. When our muscles tend to get tight to support the joints that they're otherwise not getting support from for the muscles that are supposed to be supporting them. And so we get a lot of this tightness. And a lot of my patients come in and be like, do I have to do these exercises the rest of my life? I'm like, well, you know, if you don't treat the underlying issue, most likely you're gonna have to keep doing these stretches. However, if you strengthen up the muscles and figure out what muscles are weak and why are these muscles getting so darn tight in the first place, then we don't have to be doing these exercises day in and day out because we fix the root cause. A lot of times stretches and stuff, it's just treating the symptoms. That's why I tell my patients. That's a good way to kind of explain and understand that, right? So what we're gonna do from here is we can be in a kneeling position. You guys can also do this in a seated position. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put our left arm behind our back. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our right arm and reach across, and then we're just pulling it. You don't wanna be yanking on your neck, all right? You just wanna use the weight of your arm to pull the head to the side. We should feel a pretty good stretch in that left neck area, right above the shoulder. And we're gonna hold this for about 30 seconds. So this exercise is great for, a lot of people don't know that headaches can actually be treated by physical therapy. And the reason we get headaches in a lot of ways is because of this tight upper trap and tight neck musculature. While you guys are doing that, I'm gonna kind of explain this a little bit. So we have nerves, they're called occipital nerves. They originate kind of at the base of the skull, and then they wrap around to the side of our forehead, okay, side of our head into our forehead. And they can generate, and those, if they're irritated, can generate headaches, okay? And so so the upper trap muscle that we're trying to stretch actually attaches at the base of the skull. And if that muscle, that upper trap, okay, that originates from here and spans down here that we're stretching right now, gets really tight, if that gets really tight, it can compress and push down in those occipital nerves and generate headaches. All right, so this, if you guys are experiencing headaches, can be also, due to lack of hydration. But a lot of times people with headaches can get a lot of relief from doing the stretch. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch and do the same thing on the other side, and we're gonna put our right hand behind our back. Okay? And so the reason we put our arm behind our back is to help depress that shoulder down. Okay, and so it doesn't allow it to elevate, and then we can get more of an effective stretch. So again, we're gonna reach across, and then pull to the side. We're gonna hold for about 30 seconds. And relax. All right, guys. So that's all I got for you today. I think we may be doing another one of these next week. So keep your eye out for that. It's gonna be a different routine, geared at different joints and targeting different muscles. So keep an eye out for that. And then if you guys want this mobility routine in like a template format, so you guys don't have to rewatch this, just comment in the comment section and put your email address, and I'll send that your way by the end of today. And then we are doing virtual consultations. So if any of you are still having pain, a lot of the physical therapy clinics around here are closed or not operating at full capacity. We still, just because everything's going on doesn't mean that your back pain isn't there. It doesn't mean that your low back pain's not there. We're doing virtual consultations, and because you guys came and were watching today, you get 50% off of that. So if you're interested, again, you can just put in the comments or you can direct message me, Ben Boggy, and I'm happy to set you guys up for the virtual consult and see if we can start targeting any of those painful areas that you're having and start making progress towards that. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday and enjoy the rest of your week. And then I'll see you guys next week as well.